All right, so next thing we're gonna get into is teams, and I'm gonna say El Paso teams because I'm here. Uh, they're playing in out of town tournaments.
Okay.
Some, not all.
Okay.
Some play in tournaments, and then they win their bracket, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
But then they, there are posts. There are people like, yeah, we went up there and we won this. But then, if you understand these so-called tournaments, and you understand that there are certain divisions, a lot of these teams aren't playing in comparable divisions. So my thing would be is, if you go out there and you blasted every team that you played against, you knew you were not in the proper division.
Absolutely.
You should be in the proper division. So here's what I mean by division. I'll use okay, so I had a coach who was telling me that he played in the TABC showcase.
Mm-hmm.
There were 4 divisions, I believe, 3 or 4 divisions. There was a top one, and then there was a next level under that was pretty good.
Right.
And then the next 2 were just like, for teams that weren't that good, right?
Yeah.
They played in the top one. No. They played in the one below the top one because he felt like, this should be pretty good. And they ended up playing some other teams that shouldn't have been in that division. They should have been higher. And they lost, he said, but the games were competitive. But then you had teams that should have been higher,
in that top tier division,
but they were playing in the second division, and they won. And it was like, hey, so like, to me, it's like, no, don't do that. Because you're giving the kids and parents a false sense of how good they are.
Absolutely.
And then when you play against elite talent in a big type of tournament where you don't get to choose what division you go.
Yes, sir.
You in that division.
Yes,
it's one division. Right now,
sir.
most tournaments have a couple of layers, but they're going to be like, if you want to get looks, you can't play in the lower divisions.
And to your point, everybody wants a scholarship, right? But we want to take these shortcuts to get there, and that's a shortcut. Like, we've had, specifically El Paso teams. I've traveled all over the country, so we've seen El Paso teams out of town have, let's just say, for example, 2025 kids, right?
Right.
2025 kids, everyone and their grandma knows you should be playing 17U.
Right.
They're playing 16U. 16U. So my thought is, like, what does that do for you?
Right.
Everybody's about to win, and how you win is really leveling up your skill, getting an idea of where you are. That's why you want to play those teams.
Right.
You've put in the work, and you felt like, hey, I'm at this level now, let me go ahead and bump up. Those losses or maybe those struggles, like, that is valuable intel. Right. It tells you where you're at.
Right.
I mean, and it's a bad look for this city when individually or, as a team, you go out and play in a low division and then pop off and get on Instagram and show your trophies, or, do it. I don't want to do this because I got to be careful.
Yeah.
But I mean, to me, it's just sad.
Right.
It's just really sad.
Now, I'll say this is, I've always felt that summer competition, whether it's AAU, City League, live period and stuff, to me, that should always be about competition. It shouldn't be about how many games they won. Obviously, you tend to want, now I know, like with yours, you have to win to be able to reach the mountaintop, right? That's the way that's structured. I would love to have it to where it wasn't structured on wins and losses. It was, how good do you think your team is? Your team is really good, then these are the tournaments you need to put them in. Because we're not going to judge you on whether you win or not. Now, if you get to this tournament and you're getting blasted, you can't stay in these upper tournaments. You need to pick some of the lower ones because you're not ready for that level.
Right.
We don't need to come in and have trophies and that kind of stuff. This is about, it's almost like open gym. When you playing, you know somebody coming in, you're not going for no trophy. You wanting to see how good you are against that competition. That's kind of how I've always viewed it. But I understand there's another component and element to it that, you guys have to kind of abide by, because your job is to try to get these kids looks. So you have to go with the flow with how it is, right?
Yeah, and the last piece I'll say is college coaches are not gonna want to watch you play against lower tier teams.
No.
They're not gonna watch it.
No.
They don't watch blowouts. I've seen it get to 20 at halftime. They are gone.
Yeah.
Unless it's somebody that they have signed.
Right.
Okay. So just please understand that you have got to play legitimate competition when you go to tournaments.
Right.
It's very easy for a college coach or even a director of that particular tournament to know if what we call sandbagging.
Right.
Sandbagging us is, hey, I know I'm here, but I'm going to play here so we can look good and win, and the parents can be happy.
Right.
You have to get your parents to understand that this is not about wins and losses.
No,
Number one, it's about continued development for some of your kids, and it's about seeing where some of your kids are.
Right.
That's really important.
Right. And it's a lesson that needs to be, I really, it's like, oh, well, we can complain. I mean, I know how to fix it with just what I just said, but the reality is there are systems and stuff in place designed where you're preaching these things, but it's really not about that. And then you guys have to do what you like. Let me ask you, if you were able to play in a tournament where it was quote unquote a showcase, where you get in, or like a team camp in a sense, where you get in, you're going to play 4 to 6 games, right? You have your list, you're playing 4 to 6 games. Maybe after your 6 games, maybe they take the top 4 and put the top 4 in a single elimination Final Four tournament. But they don't have to. They just make it, let's take the tournament out of it. Let's just say you play your 6 games. You play against elite competition. There are coaches there. Once you're done, you're done. That's what I would love to see, right? Because now we're not worried about if we won. If you put in order to get in this one, this is a top level tournament, top level showcase. You got to have these credentials to get in there, right? I think if you do more of those things, you will eliminate that. And I'm not saying that it's wrong for the El Paso team, because you still have to win your games, right? It's an accomplishment to travel wherever you travel. Your kids played. But then we're going to touch on this subject in basketball by ideology. We're going to deal a little bit in depth as to why I feel like you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, right? and there are some, I'd say, quote unquote leagues, like there's Power 24 out there. They do not, like, you have to have a special invite just to get in that particular tournament or that season. They have what's called the S40. S40 is a really high level division where, they'll tell you, like, well, who's offered, and they'll like they wanted me to join maybe 2 years ago. They asked me for a list of players and a synopsis of their game, also what high school they played, and they do their research.
Right.
Now, Puma, the circuit that we're on now, like, if you win a certain amount of games or play well or do well against a certain amount of teams, like, they bump you up immediately.
Right.
So that I do like. However, I'm from the old school. When I first got into AAU, like, the director, you had to speak to the director in depth as far as who your teams are, what they are, because coaches won't watch blowouts, and they don't want you in that top division if you don't belong.
Right.
So, you got to really honestly gauge your kids and where they're at, and all that's going to do is really, really level your organization up and go from there. But that's that's just a little bit of. I'll touch on that. We'll hit it right now in the next segment.
All right. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take a break, and then we'll be back. Okay, we're back. and we're going to get into basketball ideology.